Good morning and happy Monday, everybody. I'm coming to you from my office. I waited so that my daughter could sleep in as she heads back to Los Angeles today. So, we had a perfect transition at the end of last week to our next topic. We had been talking about the triad: physiology, focus, language slash belief, and that the way that we feel is never determined by the event. It's always determined by our response to that event. And we can direct that response if we want to, or we can have the response be something that is reactionary that we don't direct. And the way that we direct it is by using the triad. We use our physiology, we use our language, we use our focus. And by changing those things, we're going to change how we feel. The event doesn't decide how we feel, we decide how we feel. And as we had that discussion, a lot of people did shares, and that's awesome. I love it that people watch. I love it that people are doing shares. And we had a share that went right into a belief. We talked about the death of a loved one of the most significant things that you're going to talk about in terms of managing your state. And Abby shared with us her belief about that particular situation. And we have to distinguish between a belief and managing your state. And so this week we're going to talk about values and beliefs. It's a big chunk. But before we do that, let's just make that distinction between managing your state and your beliefs. So a belief is a feeling of certainty. We can have beliefs about anything, but do our beliefs, are they always based in reality? No. Most of the time, they're based in some sort of experience. A lot of times, they come from somebody that we admired. So it could have been a parent, it could have been a teacher, it could have been a friend, but somebody that we admired had a belief, and so we share that belief. Many times when somebody has a very adamant belief, if you ask them, why do you feel that way? What's that based on? They can't actually answer that question. They don't really know. They just know that they believe it. So a belief is a feeling of certainty. But in a minute, beliefs can be dramatically changed. So there was a movie back in I can't remember if it was the 80s or the 90s, but it was called Executive Decision. Wasn't a very good movie. But Kurt Russell was in it, and the only highlight about the movie was Steven Seagal was in it, and he died in the very first few minutes of the movie, and so everybody kind of cheered that at that point because they were tired of Steven Seagal. But the basis of the whole movie is that terrorists have taken over an airplane and it's on its way to Washington, D.C., and they're going to crash it into the White House or into the Pentagon or into something like that. And so the whole movie is the United States Secret Service and FBI and CIA and Special Forces trying to get on the airplane and taking over the terrorists so that they don't have to shoot down the airplane. And at the time that they made that movie, the thought of shooting down a commercial airliner seemed unconceivable. Then 9/11 happened. And once 9/11 happened, now the thought of shooting down a commercial airliner, suddenly that belief dramatically shifted because we saw a commercial airliner cause many more deaths than just the deaths that were on the airplane. And so our belief about that shifted dramatically. So a belief is nothing but a feeling of certainty, and it can be changed in a heartbeat. But you got to distinguish the belief from the triad, what we've been talking about. Your belief about what should happen in response to an event is yours to have. Nobody's going to tell you that you should have a different belief. Your beliefs are your beliefs, and you're entitled to them, just like you're entitled to your feelings. The triad is a way to change how you feel about that if you want to. So if you have a belief about a certain event that it's going to cause a certain physical response, then that's what's going to happen because that's your belief. But if you want to, you can change that by changing your triad. If you change your triad, if you change your physiology or your focus or your language or all of the above, you're going to change that physical response even though you have the belief. Here's the big chunk that we'll go through over the next week. Can we change our beliefs? And how do they relate to our values? Can we change our beliefs? Absolutely. You know, the first night that we do UPW is our basic Tony Robbins event. That's like the intro event. And the very first night we have you do a fire walk. You walk on 15 to 2,500 degree coals, twice as hot as it takes to melt aluminum. And it's not a trick. You actually do it. And everybody, you know, well, how do you do that? Well, there's a process to doing that, but the science behind how you do it, quite honestly, nobody is really sure about that. And there are limits. I mean, you can't go walk on 4,000 degrees. We know that 2,500 degrees is about the limit. You know, we used to do 40-foot fire walks at one time, and that kind of didn't work out for everybody. So then we kind of stopped doing 40-foot fire walks. So there are limits, but you do in fact walk on 2,000 degree coals, and it's not mind over matter. You actually do not burn, and it actually doesn't even feel warm or hot if you do it correctly. Now, is that designed to teach you new picnic skills? No, it's designed to change your beliefs. When you do that, before you do that, there's a whole series of conversations about how anything in life is possible if you just decide what you want and believe that you can go get it. If you can conceive it and you can believe it, then you can achieve it. So we want to change your beliefs about what you're capable of doing, hence the firewalk. All of a sudden it's like you think, well, this is impossible for me to do. Then you go do it, and then you're like, okay, well, if I can do that, then what else can I do? It's a metaphor. So a belief is a feeling of certainty that can be changed in a heartbeat. Your beliefs about what should happen is your reality. If you want, you can change those by changing the triad, everything that we talked about yesterday. The other thing last week, the other thing that you can do is you can completely change your beliefs. And for the rest of this week, we're going to talk about values and beliefs, how they relate to each other, and how we change them. For today, because it's Monday, remember, you're in control. We decide how we respond to events if we want to. It's your decision as to what that response is. We're not saying you can't respond in a certain way. We're not saying you should respond in a certain way. We're not saying that at all. You're entitled to your beliefs and you're entitled to your feelings. What we're saying is if you want that to be something different, it can be. If you want to be able to respond to something in a more elegant manner, let's say, or you want to respond to something in a manner that serves you better, you can absolutely do that. And you can do that using the triad, but you can also do that by changing your beliefs about what's possible. Have a great Monday, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I'll say hi to everybody that said something. Svetlana, it's great to see you. Good morning. Good morning, Uncle Bill. Good morning, Mr. Drehobel. You'll be happy. It's 11 below this morning here in Freeport, and you're in warm and sunny Florida. Patty Daly, great to see you. Shelly, Mary, good morning to you too. Karen Holman, where are you at? You got to be like out in Palm Springs, right? And Kathy Benning, great to see you guys. Thank you very much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.